It makes them go, why is DMC saying this? So if they ask me, I keep it real because I was an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck who found out he was adopted at age 35. Jam Master Jay got shot and killed and my father died. What? Yes. It wasn't until I learned, Jack, Johnny, and Jim don't really care about me. And my wife told me to my face, you found a way subconsciously to commit suicide by drinking the alcohol. The doctor said if you start drinking again, you're going to die because you had acute pancreatitis, which makes you start shoot. And I got a baby son, she's right. Your wife will make you do that. Yeah, you're right. And it just made me say, go get help. I didn't know where to go get help for my mental, but I thought of first thing I need to do is stop drinking. You're too young to talk about it. That's like saying I'm too young to exist. You're too young to talk like that. That caused a trauma. That's worse than getting punched in the face. Because now, remember I said 4 to 8. Now, they're 10, 11, 12, and 13. When that same feeling comes in adolescence and teens, which is rightfully so, the only thing they remember is when I felt this and I was 4, my mother and father said I'm not supposed to do that. So that causes them to drink or take a substance to remove it, to cut or hurt themselves to remove it. My mother said it was wrong. It's just a reaction from the way we received it in the first place. They try to commit suicide because they think the feelings are wrong. No, this is a little person that has a valid feeling that's given to them system that if we nurture it, when they get older and it returns to them, they will have developed the skills to know how to navigate it.
DMC, when the story of DMC is finally written generations from now, what do you hope mattered more? The records you sold or the people you helped stay alive?
People that I helped stay alive. The DMC thing was just a setup for what I was put there to do. So I had to realize, and I remember this day after I got out of rehab and I was clean, Sebastian said what's important about this record is it's the thing that music does. It brings people together. It brings young, old, black, white, Puerto Rican, Muslim, Christian, Republican. That doesn't matter. He said everything you've done with Walk This Way for everybody else, now you can do with us and we could do it for other people. So what's important about this record, you got 5 generations of rock and rap. DMC, Travis Barker, Sebastian Bach, Mick Mars, and Duff McKagan, all on a record working together. Simple as that, creating smiles and fun and togetherness.
Welcome to the Apex Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Bob G. DMD. Here as always with my co-host,
Dennis V. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Summer's here, right? And with summer, we get storms that run through, right?
They do.
Right?
We haven't had many storms in a while.
And I think the thunder just kind of rolled through the studio.
Well, it's interesting. We usually do a little banter before we start. And today, I have to give love to the guy from Queens. And I'm sure he... DMC, are you a Knicks fan? No! What's your team?
I've never been, so don't take it personal, New York. I'm not a big basketball guy. I was always football. Because while basketball was big, I remember being a kid in Hollis, Queens, my mother, huge Knicks fan, watching the Knicks win the championship. So for me, this is the second time seeing them win. And I know my mother, who's up in heaven, is up there like, yes. Mm-hmm. But I remember watching the Knicks. But, as a kid, I didn't care about sports. It was comic books for me, So I don't want to say what team I am a fan of, because I don't need I don't need no social media. I don't need nobody.
That's a smart man.
I don't need to get canceled on social media, but
never.
Congratulations to the Knicks. So, and the thing that excites me the most is, in my lifetime, I've seen them win twice. How many people can say that?
We're the Boston area. There was well over 85 years in between Babe Ruth leaving and the Red Sox winning. Yep. So when Knicks fans were saying, you don't know how long it's been, I'm like, I'm a Red Sox fan. You don't know how long 100%.
Yeah, waited. Yep, exactly. So, I'm happy for all the Knicks fans and stuff like that. And, speaking of baseball, I'm a Boston Red Sox fan.
I didn't know that.
And the Yankee fans hate me, but they understand because I got the pleasure of meeting Big Papi. And there's no way you can't love this guy. But growing up, if I have to choose between Yankees and in baseball, I got to choose the Mets because I'm from Queens.
From Queens?
Yep.
And not City Field, the original Shea Stadium.
Shea
Tom
Stadium?
Seaver on baseball cards.
Well, that 1986 wasn't great for the Red Sox in Shea Stadium.
No.
Well, 1986, I remember being in Rochdale Village, hanging out with my homeboys. 1986 was my big year. Raising Hell, my Adidas, Walk This Way. And I remember being in Rochdale Village and when the Mets won a championship. And that was synonymous with what I was doing that. Y'all never forget. I was in my friend's house. And on the TV, they won, and I walked out of there. I got in my caddy, and I turned up my PE cassette tape really loud and said, yeah. And that was the year that was kind of like, Run-DMC's championship run.
Absolutely. That was a huge run. Huge
Yeah,
run.
1986 was crazy. Sneaker deal. And it's funny, I don't even play sports, and I got a sneaker endorsement like athletes. So
Yeah,
to all the bullies and the kids that thought comic books and being an educated, geeky nerd wasn't cool, look at me now.
It's always one of my favorite things to say about you. You're the first non-athlete to get a sneaker deal.
That's exactly. When I go to middle schools and elementary schools, and I tell the kids, you don't know how powerful you can be. And then, we didn't even do it for the deal. We were just rapping about things we loved. And Adidas, they could have spent a $30 million marketing and promotion campaign, and it wouldn't have had the effect historically that we did by just saying their name in the way that we said it. So young people out there and old, you're never too old. I think Colonel Sanders didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken till he was like 55 years old or something. So, when we did that, it was like, I rapped about chicken and collard greens. I rapped about St. John's University. I rapped about son of Byford, brother of Al. Banner's my mother, runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Darryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree, my mother, my father, my brother, and me. So I was like, man, around about my family, around about St. John's, around about chicken, around about my glasses, around about my brother, around about my neighborhood. What else could I do? Let's make a record about the shoes we love. And the rest was history. It's crazy when you think about that.
Everybody was rocking those shell-toed Adidas when that came out. That gave
my Adidas, my Adidas are your Adidas.
Huge marketing. So,
yes.
DMC, you stood in front of millions of people, changed music forever, and became a cultural icon. But you've openly said there's a period where you thought about suicide every day.
Yep.
What does people misunderstanding depression still get wrong in 2026?
Well, first of all, the whole stigma with all the mental health issues, depression, addiction, anxiety, all of that stuff. The solution to that is not being ashamed. So what people don't understand is if you remove guilt and shame, you remove the pain of what you're going through. You remove the guilt and the shame. People are so afraid to speak up. I'm a meth addict. I've been abused. I'm an alcoholic. I'm anorexic or whatever it is. There's so much guilt and shame with that. But if you don't speak about it, if you don't talk about it in the same urgent way that you talk about a toothache, that you talk about needing to go get an eye examination, that when you wake up in the morning and your back is hurting and you go to the chiropractor, physical therapist, see all the things that ail us, we're not ashamed to go, I got a headache, you take a Tylenol. You know what I'm saying? So the same way when you have, especially with depression, because people need to understand what they get wrong is if a person is depressed, they're not a weirdo, they're not psycho, they're not weakling, they're not less than a human being. So for me, if you remove the guilt and shame, you don't move the issue or the condition or the situation or the predicament you're in, but you remove the pain of going through it. So the same way I could say to you, D, man, this tooth been killing me forever, man. And even if you go, I don't know what to do, you'll say, yo, go to the dentist. So it's got to be the same thing. Yo, man, I'm depressed. I think I don't want to live no more. We got to be able to say, yo, man, you could go get help. And sometimes if the individual, or people need to also understand, sometimes you got to assist the person. People need encouragement to be courageous enough to go get help. Because a lot of people don't go get help because they're worried about what everybody else is going to think about them. Or like me, I was DMC. I'm depressed and suicidal, but I didn't know where to go because there was no discussions or information around me in my community or even in my household, because I don't care if it's black people, white people, Asian people, Indian people, Jamaican people, Jewish people. In a lot of cultures, and I'm talking about community cultures, harmful, destructive behaviors are celebrated. So that, especially with you, do you work with the college kids? That kid that goes out to the party tomorrow night and takes 50 shots, we go, hey, like he's a hero. Or the big beer thing, and they put the beer there. The guy that drinks that, stop the person at the 5th shot and say, what's wrong? What's going on? Mm-hmm. Or the guy that's running, every culture and neighborhood and community, growing up or in the neighborhood, there's always the bully guy that beats everybody up. So 2 things is going on. And 1 thing is missing. 2 things is everybody's afraid of him, but he beats everybody so good, we think he's courageous and he's a hero. But nobody stops him from beating the next person up and say, who's beating you?
Absolutely.
Because 99% of the time, there's somebody in his house beating them or somebody beating them. So to sum it all up is, the misconceptions is we can't be ashamed to talk about what it is that's the depressed person's going through, because when you talk about it, you find a solution. And 100% of the time, or 99.9% of the time, the difficulty for the individual is it's the wife, it's the kids, it's something close to them that's causing these reactions, that they're afraid of making that discovery in the first place. But once you know what it is in my relationship, what it is with me being a parent, what it is with me being in this job, what it is being me in a situation that's causing it, because there's always a person, place, or thing that caused the trauma in the first place. Or if it's not a direct cause of the trauma or the reaction that you're receiving, your wife makes you think of something that happened to you when you was 4. Or you're looking at your kids. Right? Yes, the triggers around us. So I describe it like this. We gotta get the mind and our approaches to mental health issues. We gotta get the itchy trigger fingers off the trigger so that these people can continue to live. And part of the struggle is realizing, I don't want to address this. Kids, you got to sit. Some people will suffer, because I found out the word passion is the root word for suffering. So some people love their kids so much and passionate about their kids that they will suffer and not go get help, when in that instance, when you know what's wrong, I got to go to rehab, I got to go to therapy. If you got to go away, you got to sit those kids down, no matter how bad it hurts, and say, kids, I love you, but daddy or mommy has to go away for 3 or 4 months so I could come back and be here with you. A lot of times we suffer with depression, not knowing staying with the kids and being depressed for 4 months is worse than being here in a sound body and mind and doing something physical or emotional to your own kids. That's the worst thing. You got to be courageous and say, I got to go get help. And what I'm trying to say is, we got to realize that the guilt and shame comes from us worrying about what people think of us, or what we don't want people to think of. But you got to realize this: if you don't take care of yourself first, how are you going to take care of everybody else?
It's like being on the plane. It's like being on the plane. They tell you to put the mask on first.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Right? Perfect example.
Yeah, 2 years ago that you were here last time? You were here live last time.
2 years ago, a friend of mine.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So, you know what was interesting? Before you came that first time to hang out with us, with Dennis and I read your book, 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide. When someone hears that, it shocks them. Was that title meant to wake people up intentionally?
Yeah. Because, hip hop, if you know about hip hop is keep it real. So unless you tell people how you feel, good or bad, you never heal. So 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide is, there was a show out called 10 Ways. And it was driving all the parents and all the adults crazy because it was about teenagers dealing with the aftermath of some suicide or something. And the 10 Ways was a repetitive thing over the years of, mental health being existent for mankind. The 10 ways that you could do it. I don't want to mention them, but whatever, drink the poison, third rail, just to name a few, and all of that. And I was like, everybody is the dialogue is so much of, Anthony Bourdain, Chester from Lincoln Park, Chris Cornell, all the examples that can happen with a suicide are always on the front pages of our stuff. But nobody's saying 10 ways not to do it, which makes a suicidal person would think first, I don't have to do it. But if there's so much talk about people committing suicide, there's no open-minded thought, even in your depression, for you to go, I don't have to do it. So for me, it was kind of like a psychological thing. And of course, Dennis and B, it would make people say, like I could have named it the unfortunate adventures of the King of Rock. But that's keeping it in a DMC. He's great. He's mighty. He's strong. He got Adidas. He walked this way, tricking all that. But me by saying 10 ways not to commit suicide, and I say 10 ways not to commit suicide, it makes the whole world who know me as being that mighty, the most powerful entity in hip hop. It makes them go, why is DMC saying this? So if they ask me, I keep it real because I was an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck who found out he was adopted at age 35. Jam Master Jay got shot and killed and my father died. What? Yes. And by me saying it, people say, dude, you speak about it so lightheartedly. By me saying that, it opens up a place for discussion to where you're not going to ask me how it was meeting Steven Tyler. You're going to say, what caused you to be suicide? You was drinking that much. Why? And a lot of my answers, even if it's not definitely definitive of yours, you'll say to yourself two things. I'm going through that, or I know somebody who's going through that. Thank you for telling me that, DMC. So every time I was doing TV and news about the book, the first thing the journalist would say is, we got DMC here talking about his book, 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide. And even live on the air, they would double take and go, this is some name, but it's important that he's saying it that way.
Well, when you say a lot of things in life, when you present things, are how you say it. And you're saying it in a positive way that you can overcome this. And these are ways not to do it as opposed to in the negative way that it comes out the other way.
Exact. The same way that I speak about mental health and stuff. Mental health, adoption, foster care, addiction, recovery, sobriety. It's the same way, Dennis, that when I got on the mic, I had to keep it real. I'm not in a gang. I don't want to go to jail because I like my freedom. And I don't sell drugs. I took them, but I don't sell them.
Mm-hmm.
I took them, but I don't sell them. So it's the same way that when I got on a microphone, okay, things like education is important, right? So instead of saying preachy way, you bad if you don't go to school, you need to go to school, you young whippersnappers, or instead of criticizing people that play hooky and stuff like that, I just got on the mic and said, I'm DMC in the place to be. I go to St. John's University. Since kindergarten, I acquired the knowledge. After 12th grade, I'm going straight to college. Just for me rapping it like that. The way I did it had a cool attitude to it. Like the same way people think it's cool not to go to school, same way I think it's cool to go to school, which is more powerful. Same way, Bob, you're going to love this. people thought I was less of a person because I need help to see because I wear glasses.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like you got 20/20 vision. I don't. My vision is like 80/90 or something. But I need these glasses. Now I can see like you. But my whole life was, hey, 4 eyes, hey, binoculars. Like they thought there was a weakness in expressing my vulnerability, but not knowing that that was my strength. So when I got up on stage in front of millions of people, I remember all the kids and all the bullies that bullied me because I need help to see. I mean, even to this day, I wear contacts. Still need help to see. I can't get around it, Dennis. So when I get on the mic, D's for doing it all of the time, M's for the rhymes that are all mine, C's for cool as can be, and Run, 20/20 vision would ask me, why you wear those glasses? And I would shout to the wall, so I can see. And that is so powerful that people that don't even need glasses want to wear them now. So the same way a person, when I do interviews and it's about the music, and then they go, yeah, when Down with the King come out, and then I say, yeah, I was alcoholic, I was suicidal. Even to the things when I say, yo, I found out I was adopted at 35, and I found out I was a foster kid. Now I'm in a room with people all day. Until I say that, the other 5 people in the room is not mentioning it. But then when I mention it with enthusiasm and confidence and pride, me too, I was a foster. But if I would have never said that, nobody would never say that. So, of course, it's the way that you say it. And that's the problem with mental health. It's the way that we say it. We speak about mental health like something's wrong with people, when in reality, even the healthiest person is going through something. We all get sad. We all get confused. We all get anxiety. We all have self-doubts. But we tend to hide those things in instead of saying, yep, I had to think twice about, it's almost like I had to think twice about making this decision. I had to think twice about, everybody always think twice. So now the same way we talk about, the same way we talk about, like people praise the person that says, I feel like I could take on the world today. Yay, I feel like I could beat a lion. Yay, I feel like I could climb that mountain. But the minute you go, I feel depressed today, get away from me, weirdo. There's nothing wrong, and doctors say that's a great way to say it. There's nothing wrong with a person admitting to the world, I feel like killing myself, because that's how they feel. And they go, what do you mean, DMC? I cannot tell you, Bob or Dennis, if it's 100 degrees outside, don't go out there and feel hot. No way you can get around it. But what I can do, if you say I feel hot, turn on the air conditioner, get a fan, get some cold water, or vice versa. If it's below 0 and it gets colder in Boston than it does here, y'all always 7 to 8 degrees below it.
That's true.
There's no way I can tell you to go out there and the wind chill is 10 below and tell you not to feel cold, but I could turn the heat up. So it's the same thing with a mental health. The person feels like committing suicide. When you sit down, oh, wow, okay, that's the way you feel. Why? We find out why. Once we find that reason, we could turn the heat up, or we could turn the heat down.
I love that.
And no, doctor said, D, that's you. If I say to you, yo, I feel like that doesn't mean I have to do it or even need to do it. But I feel that way. And by me saying that to you, you don't say that. And here's why doctor said it makes sense. When we are, I would say, 4 years old to like 7, and the teacher said, we never thought about it like this. If I'm 4 years old and I come to my parents or my the older person in the room, and I come with a topic that is very mature. Now understand what I'm saying. I'm 4 to 8, and I come to you with a topic that's very mature, whether it's love, whether it's something emotional, whether it's something physical, whether it's something scientific or whatever it is. All of us. And my mother and father did this to me a couple of times, but I started noticing it as I'm around other people. The kid comes to the parents and says, I feel this way about a girl, or I feel this way about my teacher, or for whatever. We got a habit of saying, don't say that, you too young to think like that. And they're right, but they're wrong, because this living being has this feeling. Instead of saying, come here, why are you feeling like that? What's going on? When a kid is ready to tell you all his or her secrets. I'm in love with my teacher and I wanted to marry her, but we do this violently to them. Don't say that, you too young to talk like that. that caused a trauma. That's worse than getting punched in the face. Because now, remember I said 4 to 8. Now they're 10, 11, 12, and 13. When that same feeling comes in adolescence or teens, which is rightfully so, the only thing they remember is when I felt this and I was 4, my mother and father said I'm not supposed to do that. So that causes them to drink or take a substance to remove it, to cut or hurt themselves to remove it. I keep feeling like this. My mother said it was wrong. It's just a reaction from the way we received it in the first place. They try to commit suicide because they think the feelings are wrong. My therapist said, no, D, you have a right to feel angry. You have a right to feel sad, this and that. And it's like the Buddhists say, let the feeling come, acknowledge it. But we we think there's rules to this human existence thing. No, this is a little person that has a valid feeling that's given to them system that if we nurture it, when they get older and it returns to them, they will have developed the skills to know how to navigate it. But we stop it at 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The teacher said, that's very interesting. Because Dennis and Bob, our world that causes all of our emotions is our family, our friends, our work environment, your neighbors, the people you see in the stores. It's exactly the same for children, but their world is a little younger and controlled. Their world is their household, number one. What's going on in that household? Number 2 is what's going on in the backyard, what's going on the block, what's going on in the schoolroom, in the classroom, the lunchroom, in the schoolyard. So everything that we get at work as adults already happened when I was in 3rd grade. But if my parent says, don't think like that or don't talk like that, you're too young to talk about it, that's like saying I'm too young to exist. So I shouldn't have feelings and emotions and ideas and imaginations. And Albert Einstein said the greatest thing ever, that we need to apply to science and emotional and mental well-being. Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. That's his quote.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't say knowledge wasn't necessary. He just said imagination is more important because once you have the imagination, you put the knowledge with it, you can control everything. So, a kid that says, I'm in love with my teacher, that's very imaginative, but it's not really imaginative. He's just seeing daddy loves mommy and they're grown, but I'm 8, but I still love my teacher this way. That you got to sit down and explain to the kid. No, you got to wait till later. When we say, don't think like that, you're wrong, we're like that, the guy might just grow up to sleep with everybody sneaking around because we denied him the pleasure of feeling. And on the other spectrum, even with the dopamine and the chemical reactions that's with mental health, these people are sitting there with this condition, but it still takes an outside thing to trigger it. Because they're not feeling that way yet, but then when that person walks in the room or they see that picture or they see that light, everything begins with a starting point. So at the starting points, we need to help our younger people develop the skills to be able to handle the challenges that's going to come. And like, look, I'm DMC. Had no idea they were coming. I was good, had the best parents ever, had a great life, but they still came. And even me, I should have been able to know, oh my God, I'm drinking 12 40s a day.
Wow.
I should have known, man, when I got to 6 40s a day, I should have been able to know I need help. And even if I couldn't go myself, people around me should have noticed the signs.
What finally made Darryl McDaniels say, I need help instead of I can handle this alone?
Right. When Jack Daniels and Jim Beam and Johnny Walker, I found out they were lying to me. They really wasn't my friends. Jack and Johnny was always at my door, we're here for you, and made me do this. I realized that I felt good when I was hanging with them, but when that high wore off, I still felt the way I was feeling before they were here with me. And then secondly, like I said earlier, my wife, she was like, Emma, Effa, you need to. She kept it real. You know what I'm saying? People close to me. And with my wife is funny. It was like the same thing with my mother. My wife, Zuri, I remember being in 2nd grade, right? Kid, straight A student, doing well. But I remember my mother comes to pick me up from Miss Peterson one day. And, I'm standing there, I'm being a kid. Can't wait to get home to read my comic books, knowing I got to do my homework first. Like the rules never depressed me as a kid. If my mother told me, no, you can't go to the party, or no, you can't go to the block party to see the DJs and MCs that was coming up, I did stuff like this. I would go in my room, especially when I was younger, and I'd be like, God, could you please hit my mother with a garbage truck for not letting me go over Doug's house? Innocent stuff like that. I'd cry, I'd be mad, but in the morning I would wake up and say, my mother loves me. She's doing this because she cares about me. So Miss Peterson, my mother comes to pick me up, and Miss Peterson in front of me, I'm standing here, second grade, 8 years old. And Miss Peterson says to my mother, Mrs. McDaniels, I need to speak with you. And she says this, I'll never forget the day. I think there's something wrong with Darryl. I'm 8, but I'm like, what? Ain't nothing wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? And she says, I think Darryl has a problem seeing because I notice he's squinting. So my mother didn't get offended. She said, oh, really? She took me to the eye doctor, and the next day I had to come to school like this. So my wife was like, something going on with you, you need to. But it wasn't until I realized, number one, I'm suicidal. I'm not going to pull the trigger or drink the poison or put my leg on a third rail, but I'm doing the very thing I'm not supposed to be doing, because in 1990, I got diagnosed with acute pancreatitis. I had acute pancreatitis from drinking 12 40s a day. So I was in the hospital for like a month and a half. I had to get everything intravenously. When they discharged me from the hospital, it was, Darryl, you have two choices in life. You drink and die, or not drink and live. So from 90 to about the time Down with the King came out, I was good. I would just say, like the Little Rascals. Remember the episode of the Little Rascals? Learn that poem. Learn that poem. The teacher said, you can't come back into school until you learn that poem. So every time I would see alcohol around Jay, rest in peace, Run, was on the road, it was easy. I would go, you drank, you died. You drank, you died.
Yeah.
But when I started getting depressed, then when my voice left, and then when I found out that I was adopted, it wrecked my whole world. What do you mean, Byford and Ben ain't my mother and father? I can't rhyme no more. I can't do the thing that I love doing, so my life is worthless. That wasn't true. But I didn't know what to do, Dennis, so I self-medicate. I'm going to the alcohol. It wasn't until I learned, Jack, Johnny, and Jim don't really care about me. And my wife told me to my face, you found a way subconsciously to commit suicide by drinking the alcohol. The doctor said if you start drinking again, you're going to die because you had acute pancreatitis, which makes you start shoot. And I got a baby son. She's right. Your wife will make you do that. Yeah, you're right. And it just made me say, go get help. I didn't know where to go get help for my mental, but I thought of first thing I need to do is stop drinking. So that was an easy one. Go to rehab. Because everybody was going to rehab around the time. That was the Britney Spears I just saw on TV. So I think it's the things rock star do. But it was when I got to rehab. In rehab, there's a thing called therapy, which will make, like you can go to rehab, get clean, and come back out. But if you don't go there and find the root causes of what's causing all this, so I went to stop drinking. That was the first step to victory. But it wasn't over, because if I never went to therapy, I would have got out, and 4 or 5 months later, the same things that was affecting me, why they came again, and I'd have fell off the wagon. But in therapy, I was diagnosed, you're going to love this, Bob. You're going to love this, Dennis. I was diagnosed with suppressed emotions. I was using the 40 ounces in the alcohol to dull my emotions. Like if Run does something and Jay does something, if the management does something, if the label's telling you to, go to do an event with people in the room just because they got money, but I don't like the way they live, but I would just drink and go with it. My therapist said that's what was killing you. All you got to do is tell them, I don't care, kick me off the label. I can't be in a room with these people because these people are crap. I don't want to be seen in a pitch with them and people go, you might get a deal. I'd rather work 1,000,000 days for $1 to get $1 million than go in a room with a bunch of people who are just rich and famous and got money, but they treat others like crap. That's what I would be doing to survive in my business. My therapist said, you don't have to do that no more. And it wasn't until I went to therapy when I said, I don't. And he was, no, you leave the group, they'll figure it out. Life goes on. But I didn't think that. So I was my literal diagnosis of my alcoholism was suppressed emotions. My therapist said, now, D, speak up, express your opinion, and either people work with you or they don't. I said, it's that simple? Yes.
Yeah, ultimately, it really is that simple, you know?
Yeah.
And, it's wild, after all these decades,
Uh-huh.
right? And you went through things that most people never survive publicly, and you did. And you've
Yeah, I put it out
reinvented
there. That's what's, but hip hop,
that,
keep it real. What's up, D? I'm
right?
alcoholic.
Right. So now, though, you're reinventing your I don't think that, how do I say it? I'm trying to think, like, you've always had rock and roll in your soul,
Right.
and you're known as a hip hop, icon, hip hop royalty, so to
Right.
speak. But rock has always been in your DNA, and you just did
Yes.
it again,
Yeah.
and I'm really hyped about this. We're kind of segueing and changing the topic from
Right.
mental health, which is super important. But you know me, I'm a rock and roll guy, and I hang
Yep.
out with this guy who's the hip hop guy,
Yeah.
and and
Yo, I'm looking at the best of both. I'm looking at the best
Yeah.
of both worlds.
so like you're like the perfect guest for us, because you get to I get to indulge my rock and roll side, and Dennis
Yes.
gets to indulge the hip hop side. But I want to talk about, you have Sebastian Bach,
Yes.
Mick Mars,
Yep.
Duff McKagan,
Yes.
Travis Barker, all involved in a new single.
On a new song. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and it's funny that you said it. It's my rock and roll dreams coming true. And I never wanted to be in show business. I love hip hop. I love rap, but not for me. And I was writing my little rhymes because, growing up listening to 70s rock radio, 80s rock radio too, late 60s, early 70s rock radio here in New York City. So while everybody else was loving Jackson 5, Marvin Gaye, Al Green, and James Brown, rightfully so, and that was my mother's music. I'm a kid. All I care is about superhero comic books. On the 1930s Hollywood monster movies, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Lon
Yeah.
Chaney Jr. That era. Also the black and white early Japanese Godzilla films. So that was my world. I wasn't there. I heard this. So the music was in my house because of my parents. I'm a kid. I'm comic books and monster movies and stuff like that. But it wasn't until around late 60s, early 70s, starting with artists like, Bob Dylan, John Fogerty, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Harry Chapin, and Jim Croce, to name a few. Storytelling, Joni Mitchell. You know what I'm saying?
All great songwriters,
Yeah, all right.
Storytelling. Great.
Bad.
Yeah,
Bad.
storytellers. Yep.
Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town. Badder than old King Kong, meaner than the junkyard dog. So I was like, yo, I could relate to this. And even to the point where, I started hearing Led Zeppelin, Procol Harum, the Doobie Brothers, Oh Black Water, Keep on Rolling, Mississippi Moon, all the way up into, the Beatles, the Stones, all of that. So number one, rock attracted me because the guitars were so powerful. The drums were louder. Soul music was soulful. R&B music was R&B. Like, what I'm saying? The soul, sexy love songs and all of that was cool. I'm a kid. I don't care about girls. But I'm loving these rock beats and I'm loving, so it's funny. I said, when I was a kid, I first said, if I ever did music, from watching Soul Train and American Bandstand, if I ever did music, I want to be like that guy, Freddie Mercury. Because Freddie Mercury, he was doing opera, he was doing disco, he was doing funk, he was doing rock, and the band itself was so versatile. So when I was listening to the Queen, I was hearing all this music. But I had a problem. What's the problem? Number one, I can't sing like Freddie Mercury. Number two, I damn sure ain't got a band. So this thing called hip hop comes over the bridge from the Bronx, and DJs like Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, Africa Bambaataa, rest in peace, the Grand Wizard Theodore, and all the great DJs of the early years before recorded rap, their MCs were rapping over a lot of the rock records I was hearing on the radio. In addition to Sly and Family Stone, Parliament Funkadelic, James Brown, Bob James Jazz. So I'm hearing all the music that, so it went to, when I started writing my rhymes and Run said, I'm going to put you in a group. I said, man, if I ever get today to do a rock song, I'm going to do it. So, we did It's Like That, Sucker MCs, typical hip hop records, a message record, which is very important in hip hop, even more important now. And even now, us OGs we do not dislike what the young people are doing. We dislike what they are not doing. Like their sex and love and their socially conscious records repetitively talking about shooting guns and selling drugs. The problem with that is tell a story about people shooting guns and selling drugs, but then your next single that should be on hot rotation should be about not having to shoot the guns and sell drugs. Right now, it says shoot guns, sell drugs, have sex, this and that, be disrespectful asshole. No, tell that story, and then the next record is telling that audience not to do that. So we knew there was a responsibility to do that. So we did it like that, and that's the way it is. We talked about unemployment walls, but we also said go to schools, you don't have to shoot. And then we did Sucker MCs bragging about how good I am when you put a beat on. Then the next single was Hard Times, which was a Curtis Blow remake of a record on Curtis Blow's first album, 42nd Street. On one of Curtis Blow's first albums, 42nd Street, he had a song called Hard Times. We just redid it and sped it up, twist like that to give a message. And then we did a record called Jam Master Jay, rest in peace, J-A-Y, all the letters of his name, cutting and scratching. So hip-hop was, you make a message song to save the community, and then you make a record about telling how good you are at this hip-hop thing. So then it was successful for us. So we get a little ego. They're saying nobody will never buy a hip-hop album. So we said, you know what, we're going to make the first full hip-hop album. Now, the hip-hop albums before us was just compilations of all the singles that So Sugar Hill did an album with all their records. They didn't sit down and make a whole new album the same way the Beatles or Stones would. So we're going to say, we're going to make an album, we're going to self-title it Run-DMC, just like Black Sabbath would do. And on that, I came up with the idea, Larry Smith, our first producer, we real good at, everybody sampling James Brown, everybody sampling, George Clinton and this and that, but nobody is making the rock beats that we rocked over. So we wanted to remake a song like Billy Squier's Big Beat. Billy Squier is a huge rock song with a great rock band who had a hip-hop break beat that we used called Big Beat. I was like, let's make a song, let's call it Rock Box so they could boom a rock rap song out of it. And it worked. So then I got souped, and I wrote a rhyme called I'm the King of Rock, which, was kind of crazy to say back then because they thought rap was a fad. Like, how the hell are you going to say you're the King of Rock and nobody even believes you're going to be here in 3 years? I didn't care. Let me just get this out my system now. So I was always that rock rap cat. So then that worked, and then in 86, we hooked up with an actual rock band called Aerosmith, did Walk This Way. In that record, in that video, Steven Tyler takes the mic stand and knocks down the wall.
Right through the wall. Yeah.
That literally happened in the world. And that's why all these collaborations is going on. That gave birth to Korn, Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, Sum 41. You name it, it's because of that thing. So now that I've done that, and it was just my little rock and roll dream, hip-hop allowed my rock and roll dream to come true. I can't sing and I don't got a band, but I can make rock records. Now I accomplished that, and I'm in a room with Tom Morello over there, Tom Petty over there, John Fogerty over there. This was the room I was in when Public Enemy got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Chris Cornell is over there, and I'm staring at him, and he probably thought something was crazy with me, but I'm looking at Chris, and my whole brain is going, you write some really good songs, and you can really sing. And, he would do this to me. I'm like, hey, Chris. And he was like, and then when we went on stage, he looked up, and DMC, so he was cool. He was like, yo, what's up? And David Grohl. So I'm around all of these rock guys, and then what happened to make this new song is I've always done, talk about education, talk about mental health, talk about families. Like in a gangster way, I've always was able to, I made a song about Christmas, you know what I'm saying? But it's a Christmas song, but it's not Rudolph, but everybody can relate to it. You know what I'm saying? I walk through the mall at Christmas time, Muslim people, Jewish people, Asian people, they scream my rhyme at me because even though I got chicken and collard greens, whatever their traditional holiday is, they got their food so they can relate to it. So I looked at what was going on. Me and Sebastian, we looked at what was going on in this country for the last couple of years. Everybody's so divided. And Sebastian and the producer that produced the record is this guy named Sonic, who's actually an R&B and a hip-hop producer. He sampled the record originally because it's a remake of Ram Jam's Black Betty.
Black Betty, yeah.
It's a reinterpretation. For everybody listening, there was a band called Ram Jam that did the original version. Oh, Black Betty. They got a wonderful video of it. You go to YouTube or any video.
They're in the yard.
platform. They're in the backyard in Long Island with the clothes. They're in the guy's backyard. So Sonic originally did the hip hop thing to it. I'm going to sample it. We're going to use the Ram Jam vocals. You're going to rhyme, put the sample in, rhyme, put his records over. So after we did that, Dennis and Bob, he goes to a Giants game. Now, you know, at sports games, particularly hockey and football, during a timeout, during a halftime, during the breaks, the DJs play records.
In music.
And at hockey games, especially hockey games, you'll hear Rage Against the Machine come on. You'll hear Black Sabbath come on. You'll hear Guns N' Roses come on. So he's at this football game. We got the record done, so we thought. We got the record done, so we thought. And then he's sitting there at the game. Guns N' Roses comes on. Skid Row comes on. Motley Crue comes on. Blink 182 comes on. The Beasties come on. And then Tricky and Walk This Way come on. So he comes back to me and said, D, we scrapping this whole idea. I was like, he said, no, not the song itself. We scrapping the way we did it. We got to do this record live. And the day that he said that, I'm going, we ain't got no budget, no labels, no management. I'm thinking, where the hell I'm going to get a drummer, a guitar player, a singer, and a bass player? So I go to an event I didn't want to go to, and Travis Barker was there. And Travis walks up to me and says, yo, DMC says this to me. Yo, DMC is honored to meet you. And I'm like, dude, you're Travis Barker. And he's really humble. And then he says,
incredible drummer, right?
Yeah, he says this to me. He says, most people jumped on Run-DMC with Walk This Way. And I knew he was official. He said, I was there since Rockbox. So I'm like, oh, he's not just on the Walk This Way MTV. It started with him like everybody else with Rockbox. And then he said, King of Rock. And then he just goes, if there's anything you need me to do, Dennis, I was like, oh, I got your song done. So I sent him the track. He lays the drums. So it's me and Travis. And then, before Travis, we got Sebastian to do the vocals over. I ran into Sebastian at an MTV event. So we had that's what made Travis say, what? You got Sebastian on the record. So we had Sebastian do all the Ram Jam vocals, but it was still the sampled version. So when I ran into Travis, I said, I got Sebastian. He was like, you and Sebastian? Done. So he sends me that. And then how I got Mick Mars, I was actually at a meeting for perfume. And Mick Mars calls into the meeting in the middle because we was running overtime. And the lady goes, I'm so sorry, Mick, I'm going to call you right back. I got DMC in the room. And Mick Mars goes, DMC? And Mick Mars goes, DMC, yo, I love them guys. And the lady goes, tell them yourself. And he says, yo, DMC, I love what you guys did, this and that, boom, bang, we got a lot of love for y'all, even though y'all didn't have a band, but we it was about music. And he goes, if there's ever anything you need me to do,
Wow.
Mick, I got this song, I got Sebastian on it, I got Travis on it. What? So Mick didn't send me his guitars. He made me fly to L.A. He says, you get on a plane, come to L.A. I'm going to make Nikki Sixx give us his studio to do it.
Wow.
So I fly to L.A. I get there at 11 in the morning. Nikki Sixx shows up, throws us the keys and said, make sure you lock everything up and turn off the electricity when you finish. So Mick lays all of his parts. So now it's me, Sebastian, and Mick and Travis. All we needed is a bass player. It took us a minute to find bass players. We wanted to get Flea. Flea was busy. Yeah. But Flea's funny. I love the way musicians. Flea was like, look, you can't get me. Flea wanted to hear Bootsy play on the record. So he said, I'm too busy. I would love to do it, but please get Bootsy. Flea wanted to hear Bootsy on it, but then Bootsy was busy. So Sebastian took a roll of the dice. He says, you know what? Let me call my friend up. Maybe I'll get lucky. So he calls up Duff, and Duff picks up. Wow. Like we didn't get an assistant. Duff, yo, what's up, guys? So Sebastian goes, yo, Duff, you're not going to believe this. I got a song. I'm on a song with me, DMC, Travis Barker. And Duff is like, what the hell? What's that about? I want to play. He's like a kid. I want to play. Can I come over? He said, send it to me. He said, I'm going to get this done before I hit the road. And he sent it to us. And then Sebastian just said, this is important right now because over the last couple of years, the country's at a divisive time. Everybody's fighting. Republicans fighting Republicans. People that like Trump fighting the people that don't like Trump, which is all good. But Dennis and Bob, remember there was a time, and somebody said this to me about a month and a half ago, who's younger than me. I'm 62. This person was like in their 40s. But they said they remember a time when you could tell somebody who you voted for and life would just go on. You still go out to eat dinner, you
Yep.
still go to the club, still go play basketball, this and that. Now you tell somebody you voted for, you get away from me. And what's even worse is, how could you do that? So Sebastian said what's important about this record is it's the thing that music does. It brings people together. It brings young, old, black, white, Puerto Rican, Muslim, Christian, Republican. That doesn't matter. He said everything you've done with Walk This Way for everybody else, now you can do with us, and we could do it for other people. So what's important about this record, you got 5 generations of rock and rap. DMC, Travis Barker, Sebastian Bach, Mick Mars, and Duff McKagan, all on a record working together. Simple as that, creating smiles and fun and togetherness. So not only for us, it's a great rock rap collaboration, this and that. It's fulfilling the purpose of, why the Beatles, people forget there was a 5th Beatle, and the Beatle was a black man named Billy Preston, who the Beatles wouldn't do their last show on the roof or wouldn't record albums unless Billy was present. He was called the 5th Beatle. Bruce Springsteen had Clarence Clemens. So black and white has always been working together. You know what I'm saying? So this is, I guess this is a reinvigoration of who we are as all people, and what better way to show that than with music. And you got the guy who created the rock rap collaboration thing, collaborating with some of the best that could relate to everybody. So
I love it.
Yeah, to sum it up, this thing came together grassroots, no labels, no lawyers, no just, oh wow, I'll play. I come over. Remember when you was a kid and if me and you was playing and Dennis, no, we didn't even have social media in our phones. Right. If Dennis called and your mother picked up, I'll speak to Bob. He's in the basement with Darryl. The first thing Dennis is going to say, Miss Smith, can I come over too?
Come over, yeah, exactly.
Remember as kids?
You know what's happening.
Yeah, so that's how I'm describing this record.
It's so good. I love it, man. I think it's on my regular playlist. I'm a dentist. It's right in my right in when people are getting teeth fixed. It's great. It's brilliant. I love it.
So hold on. I just want to add this too. So that's going to lead up to the November Record Store Day. I'm releasing a 4-song vinyl EP. Because I was going to release the album, but I'm going to wait till the top of the year. But just to let people know, on the album, I got a song with Sammy Hagar. I got a song with Joan Jett. I got a song with Blacktop Mojo. And I got a song with Ice-T and Chuck. So I got I got an album, I got a music project coming that represents every generation, every genre, and everything that makes us feel good, not just about music, but as everyday life.
I love it. Love all of it.
DMC, when you look at today's artists, who do you think truly understands what Run-DMC represented beyond the music?
Wow. People who know their responsibility with this music. On today's artists, I would say, for me, Chance the Rapper of the younger generation. Of course, Kendrick Lamar. And it's not just Run-DMC, because Run-DMC, we wanted to represent the culture. We wanted to represent what the message meant, what Planet Rock meant, what the Fearless Four meant, Treacherous 3, by making all these important records that relate to our community. So the ones that I'm proud of is Chance the Rapper. I would say Kendrick Lamar. What's the girl name? Doja?
Yes.
Her, she is like doing hip hop. Her flows, her music, do you know what I'm saying? Her, she represents the female power in that respectable Latifah, Lauryn Hill, Moni Love way. Like, just, she's dope. She don't just got she don't got a booty shaking hit. She got a hit. She got bars and stuff like that. So those are the 3 stands out to me when I go, and not even the old way. As my young 15-year-old self, yes, hip-hop is still solid because we got those 3 individuals in the midst of all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And to answer the question fully, any artist that takes it upon themselves to address any of the issues that affect us all as people.
That's great. That's a great sum up, DMC. I love it.
Yeah, any artist that'll do it. And a lot of times, Bob, the artist will do a record about mental health or suicide, but it doesn't get hot rotation on the radio. Yeah. Or it's not the record the fans want to hear when they go see him live, but it's an important record that they should do. Like, the music is so cool and it's so powerful. Like I said, I wanted to be Mick Jagger and Freddie Mercury because of what they represented. And I was able to do that in my own way. You know, even to the point where it's funny, when Run-DMC and the Beasties was touring together, you know, the Raising Hell album was one of the hottest albums on earth.
I remember.
White people would sing, you know, I'm proud to be black, y'all. And that's a fact, y'all. And if you try to take what's mine, to take it back. It's like that. You know, they would sing that because it was all about the essence of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when music is able to do that, then, you know, it's the superhero thing, Dennis, where Aunt may say with great power comes great responsibility. So all of the rappers being responsible and, you know, get your money, have your fun, but when it's time to do something and say something important for the people, you don't worry about street credibility. You're going to keep it real and you're going to say, oh, gotta add Killer Mike. Killer Mike. And what I like about Killer Mike, he'll sit in a room with politicians and speak up. He's not afraid to go, how do you think I don't know about that? I know a lot about politics because what they're doing affecting me. So I got to add Killer Mike in there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you've evolved as a rapper to an artist, speaker, comic creator, entrepreneur, baker with cookies.
Yeah. Darryl makes cookies,
Right.
DMC.
Right. What's the creativity thing that keeps you, Darryl, alive?
Storytelling. Because Riggs Morales, who was Eminem's A&R over at Shady Records, and then became an executive over at Atlantic, Warner Atlantic, and even Def Jam before Def Jam. Well, I think Def Jam's still there before he left Def Jam. So Riggs Morales was a Puerto Rican kid that was a little younger than me, about 10 years younger than me. And we thought that we just had music in common, hip hop. He's from the Bronx. He told me the stories about, you know, when hip hop first started, his life was him and his mother and his family moving from apartment building to apartment building because the landlords kept burning them down to get the insurance money. So that was his life as a kid every week. Homeless, moving to another apartment, this and that. While there's beautiful breakdancing and music and graffiti's going on. So as a kid, he had some therapeutic culture to keep him sane. But we was talking, and he was the guy that found out about my love of comic books before me, you know, before hip hop was just comic books for him. So he was the one that said, DMC, man, you should do a comic book. And at first I said, no, I don't want to do that because I respect the culture of comic book. The geeks and nerds, man, they take it, it's like religion. Do not be disrespectful to the geeks and nerds because they will come for you. So I said, I don't want to be just another rapper because I make a lot of, just because I got some hit records, I don't want to go into and put a comic book out to make more money and exploit the culture. He said, no, D, your first love is comic books. So right then and there, you got credibility. But then he said, D, with the comic book, you can be doing everything that you've been doing with your music for the last 40 years. And I was like, what's that? Inspire, motivate, and educate while you entertain. So the same thing I did with Son of Byford. I'm the king of rock. I'm the devastating Mike Controller DMC. I could do it with the comic book. I could tell stories about me or somebody in a way where people can relate and see themselves in it. So the creative spark is, my next venture is two things, filmmaking and Broadway. So I want to be able to tell my story as Darryl, this mild-mannered Catholic school kid that loved comic books, that was actually able to manifest what he was pretending to be on the microphone in the world. So it's all about storytelling, where if it's a kid's book, if it's a comic book, if it's a graphic novel, if it's a novel, if it's a song, as always, if it's a play or if it's a musical, anything artistically creative where I can utilize storytelling, I'm going to be doing that till the day I die.
DMC, when the story of DMC is finally written generations from now,
Yep.
What do you hope mattered more, the records you sold or the people you helped stay alive?
People that I helped stay alive. The DMC thing was just a setup for what I was put here to do. So I had to realize, and I remember this day after I got out of rehab and I was clean, that my greatest accomplishment is staying sober. And then people will say, no, we're talking about, no, nothing is bad. I don't, first to go gold, first to go platinum, first to cover Rolling Stone, first with the sneaker deals, first with the, all of this cool. That's wonderful, artistically and creatively. But the greatest accomplishment is me staying sober. And by me saying that makes a person go, hold up, DMC, you was, yes. And you're not, yes, I'm still here. DMC, you was messed up. Yes, I'm still messed up, but I'm still here. The whole, it's okay not to be okay and all of that stuff. So it's the people's lives that I was able to touch by just being here doing what it is that I was doing. The records and the creativity was an assistant to that. Because even now, as a little kid, I loved school. I was a kid that hated the summer vacation. Number one, you know, even y'all, remember when August came, you had the whole summer off? June, July was good, but by the second week in August, you all wish you was back in school because it got boring.
You want to see your friends. Yeah,
Remember that?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So that's the feeling of, so I had to realize, even if I never rhyme again, I could still have friends and I could still touch, you know what I'm saying? Because we, you know, it's like the athlete. Oh, man, you broke your knee and you'll never play again. That's very devastating. Now, truthfully, it's very devastating. Oh my God, I feel for you, this and that. But your life don't end. Sometimes your life really begins. You know what I'm saying? So, Dennis, for me, it's the lives that I touch, because I realize I can still be somebody without a voice. And I remember Barack Obama wrote this. He said, your voice is not how you sound. It's how you live.
I love that.
And I was like, wow. And then I put that with, I met a Baptist preacher, a non-denominational preacher. I met a Buddhist guy. I met, what's the bald-headed people?
The monks?
The monks.
Yeah.
And they said, prayer is not just getting down on your knees and clasping your rib. They said, prayer is how you live every second of the day. So I realized when Barack said that, Barack Obama said, your voice isn't how you sound. It's how you live and what you do. That speaks volumes to people. So I realized that I can have a voice without even speaking. And Dennis, you know, this is cool coming from the hip hop side. I remember we first went to Japan and we got off the plane. About 30% of those people that's waiting with the signs and stuff like that. And even at all the shows, they was telling me only about 30 to 20% of the people in the audience understand English. But it happens with Metallica in South America. Even if they don't know the language, they know every word on all the Metallica records.
It's unbelievable.
And they say it. Metallica probably bugs out. They sang with them the whole 3 hours. If you ever seen it, it's crazy. So they was doing that to us in Japan. But I remember when we first got there, we got off the plane, welcome Run-DMC, this and that. The ones that could talk English was speaking English. Yo, what's up, this and that, boom, bang. But one guy who didn't know any English, me and Jay was walking away. And he was like, he had on the Run-DMC, he had on the LL Cool J Kango. Had the DMC glasses, he had the gold chain on, he had the Run-DMC Adidas suit, and he had the Adidas with no laces in it. So his friend could talk English. Yo, what's up, man? This and that, boom, bang. Yeah, I go back and forth to, you know, my mother was in the army, you know those guys. But his friends who are natives of Japan, who know every Run-DMC line but don't know English, wanted to say something. And he's like, I'll never get this chance to connect with DMC. So me, Run, and Jay are walking away. So he goes, Run-DMC, with that Japanese accent. And we turn around and we look at him. He didn't say nothing, Dennis. He just did this with his Kango on, glasses, gold chain, Adidas, no laces. He goes, Run-DMC. And we turn around and go, what? He didn't say one word. He just did this.
That's powerful.
He hit the B-boy stance. And then we hit it like that. And he just turned away. That was communicating.
Great. Absolutely.
So I had, when I look back at that, and I'm like, wow, we can do so much. I'm working on a song for my album, and it was inspired by hip hop, and it was inspired by a superhero in a James Bond movie. When you see these heroes, the heroes always get to the point where all hope is lost. And everybody goes through this all day. All hope is lost. When I look back at the hip hop people, they look at these hip hop kids, Dennis, and said, these kids have nothing, this and that. There's nothing coming out of it. But they looked on the inside and all this came out. So my chorus is, even when there's nothing, there is something to use. Even when there's nothing, there is something to use. Even when there's nothing, there is something to use. You can still do something when there's nothing you can do. Sticks of dynamite, they lit the fuse. I came out to battle, battered and bruised. It's really very funny. I'm so amused. The price of life. We all pay dues. I caught the thief who stole the jewels. I stopped all the cheats who broke the rules. to bring this feeling. We have the tools. It's something they should teach in all the schools. Even when there's nothing, there's something to use. Even when there's nothing, there's something to use. Even when there's nothing, there's something to use. You can still do something when there's nothing you can do. So I was inspired by James Bond. There was no guns or nothing, and he was looking, there was nothing for him to use around, and then he found a can opener top.
That is so
awesome.
Powerful.
Yeah,
Bob,
right.
what do you think, Bob?
Unbelievable. DMC, you're one of a kind, man. Thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. You were so gracious to meet up with us. You're an amazing guest. I aspire to live my life in the way that you're talking about.
Well, no,
here
you're
too,
already doing it by just doing what you're doing.
You know,
inspiration is a two-way street, my brother.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. DMC, you inspired me by you telling me that. Look what you're doing.
See that?
We're growing together, for sure.
That's true. You're one of a kind, man, and I'm happy to call you my friend. I'm happy to have you been here and here tonight again. And Dennis, what?
Well, it's funny. I thought of Dennis when I first met Dennis. I thought I was just coming to, speak at your school and never see you again. I had no idea we would become friends and got a lot of friends in common. Like when I met Dennis, he knew everybody already that I knew. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, whoa, like how you meet those people?
He makes friends just, going out to the restaurant.
He's
everywhere.
What I like about Dennis,
he's like the mayor.
Yeah, Dennis, you represent that thing where I forgot what movie it was. It was about maybe 12, 15 years ago, maybe longer. There was one movie, and it was a popular movie. I forgot, a drama. It wasn't a sci-fi, and it was a drama. And it was a scene where the guy was explaining to the subjects of the movie. It might have been in a book, but they said, and it was talking about life, the trials and tribulations we all go through, and what life is really about. I think it was a book. I don't know the title. Y'all might have heard this. The person said, when you're in a restaurant with people tomorrow night or in your past, when you're in a restaurant, he said this, when you're in a restaurant and you're out for dinner with you and whoever, everybody in there, we don't realize as in this universe, we're all there for a reason. And we leave the restaurant never knowing if I would have spoke to this person, you would have found a purpose. So Dennis, you're the living, breathing personification of that. You're in the room, there's just people, let me say, and everything, that'll show that everything we're connected to everybody. You are the real example of that. Like I thought I'm just coming to school and Dennis, I thought I was only going to see you every year to come talking to school. No. Yeah. I see you more often as, yo, what's up? What's going on? How you doing? Here's what he's doing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's what would change the world.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I remember the first time you and I were introduced, and Parrish and I talk about this. You were on the posters in the room. We were wearing and I'm like, I didn't know what I'd say to you, and you didn't give me a chance to say anything. You asked everything for a few hours about what I do, the connections I'm making with kids, the changes that I make every day. And that meant a lot to me. And that says who you are, that you are an agent of change in this world. And you're using your voice, not just your voice, but through your actions every day to make a difference. And that is the most powerful thing you can do. And I appreciate you, man, and honored to call you a friend.
Yeah, I love y'all because y'all keep it real too.
Absolutely. Likewise, man.
Dennis, this is one for the books.
Absolutely.
Right? And the Thunder did roll in tonight, and we're so looking forward to sharing this episode with our listeners. And all I can say is go and listen to that new song. She Gets Me High. Great song.
Thank you. And the vinyl's coming in November for sure.
We'll be there. It's go time.
Yes, sir.